Hey guys, it's Lee. Now, let's face it, moving from one camera system to another can not only be quite a pain, but it can also be a bit stressful, right? When it comes to photography, I think that you probably know all too well that it's expensive, especially when you're only shooting as a hobby and you're not making money on your craft yet, right? Now, today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover how I successfully transitioned from being a Canon shooter over to a Sony shooter, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why I made that transition over. Now, if you're new here, my name is Lee and I'm a wedding and portrait photographer, and this channel is really all about photography reviews, gear reviews, and then any tips when it comes down to photography as well. So that sounds like something you'd be interested in. Definitely hit the subscribe button as well. I definitely appreciate it. Now let's get back to it. So my very first camera back in the day when I first started shooting was the Canon Rebel T3i, and it was a great camera. It was great. I use it for photographing, family and friends and little events I might go to, and it was really fun to use. And I was able to actually start my first YouTube channel with it, and all in all, it was very exciting, right? Later, I decided to upgrade to the Canon Rebel T7i, and I upgraded mainly because it had continuous autofocus, right? And that was a thing, like at the time, continuous autofocus. I was like, wow, this is really great. And so there were also a few other little upgrades that I found appealing at the time, and so obviously I upgraded at that time. Now, as time went on, I kind of realized that I was ready to jump into the full frame camera world, right? I was ready to take on clients and get paid for my work. And after a bit of research and taking a quick look at my bank account, I grabbed the Canon 5D Mark III. I actually got it used because I was trying to be responsible at the time, right? But it was actually a good buy. And so next I realized that I really needed to grab some essential lenses, right, for my new full frame camera, because I really only had APS-C camera lenses at the time, right? I only had, like your 18 to 135, for instance, and things like that. And so I needed those full frame lenses. So of course I grabbed the nifty 50, right? Which is that's what everyone has. And that's probably what everybody picks up first, right? And then I next picked up the beautiful 24 to 70 f 2.8L lens, which I love that lens. It was hard for me to let that one go. But later I grabbed the 85 f 1.8, which was actually really good for a while as well, which was a great lens. Now, not long after I got the 5D Mark III, I sold my T7i actually to an old high school classmate who just happened to see my Facebook post because I was getting rid of it right before I posted it to Marketplace. So it all worked out very smoothly, and I was actually able to recoup some of my cost, when it came down to that new camera and the lenses, right? One of the things that really pushed me to move over to Sony was that now I had a camera that did not have continuous autofocus, right? Because I got rid of that T7i. So shooting videos for my other, growing YouTube channel at the time was becoming, quite a pain. It was a real pain, okay? It really took me back to the T3i days where I didn't have that feature all over again. And so I did a lot of research. I looked at some of the Canon offerings and things like that. I was thinking to myself, well, I'm going to get a camera. I wanted to be able to shoot in 4K because I'm buying this newer camera. And so I did a lot of research, and really at the time, Canon did not offer anything that did not have a serious crop factor, which would have really taken away from my creativity and being able to film comfortably in my room, right? Because it's not a huge room. And then I would have to go and buy all these other lenses. It was just not ideal. And so I came upon the Sony a6400, and I was like, wow, this is a fantastic camera. And so that's what I got. I actually still use it to this day. I'm actually using it right now for YouTube, also for the occasional photography outing. When I don't want to bring my full frame gear, I use my Sony a6400. When it came down to it, I really loved the 4K capabilities, and I just thought it was amazing. So one of the main reasons that I also got intrigued in moving from Canon all the way over to Sony just completely is obviously at the time I had two different camera systems, right? I had Sony and then I had Canon, and I found that if I wanted to get a different lens for Canon or for Sony, I would have to be mindful of the cost, right? Because in some ways I might end up duplicating the lenses, right? If I needed a different lens for the a6400, it's going to be different for the Canon, right? So I had to think about that. And then again, like I said, I thought about the 4K capabilities, which weren't ideal for Canon at the time. And then I also noticed that shooting with the A6400 was just a lot more fun than using my Canon 5D Mark III. And you might be like, well, but it was a full frame camera. It's really kind of boiled down to some of the features, right, and the technology. So the eye autofocus was fantastic. It was amazing, and I found it to be leaps and bounds ahead of the Canon 5D Mark III. Obviously, the technology is newer, so I shouldn't be surprised. But I just found that I was able to work or focus more on working with my clients than reframing shots and chimping the back of my camera screen to make sure that I got it right, or to get home after a shoot, sit down in front of the computer, think I had all these amazing shots, only to find out that I slightly misfocused in a few of them, or my images were a little bit soft, or some were actually unusable. And this didn't really happen all the time, but when it did, it definitely was a bummer. And so that was something else. With the A6400, I really didn't have that problem. I didn't have that problem much at all, honestly. I realized that what I needed was more of a hybrid camera, right? I needed a camera that I could use for photography and then also for video. And I really like the fact that I could use A6400 for both of those things, right? But at the end of the day, I still needed a full frame camera that had 2 card slots and, you know, all those kind of things, because when you take on clients and you take on more professional work, that's really what you need. So after a bit of research, and again, taking another look at my bank account, I decided to just make that leap fully into Sony. And it was actually really painful for me at the time, because I really had a special place for Canon in my heart. I really loved Canon because that was really what I started out with. That's all I knew, right? I love the Canon colors and the way the menu was laid out, the way the camera felt in my hand. It was all so familiar, and Sony was just unfamiliar, right? And it was small, and I'm like, how can I hold this properly? It was very different, and I had a hard time wrapping my head around it. But I took photos of all of my Canon gear, all of my lenses, everything, and I just posted them on Facebook Marketplace. I sold the 5D Mark III pretty quickly. The 85 I sold shortly thereafter to like an up and coming, you know, photographer. She was really excited about the 85. The 24-70 took a little bit longer, but I eventually sold it to a company called MPB. It was really easy. It was hassle free. And I've actually purchased other things from MPB before and sold some other stuff to them over the years. And I've had a great experience. It's not sponsored, but MPB, if you see this, you want to sponsor me, go ahead and do it. At the time, Amazon, you know, had a really great deal for the Sony A7R III. I was deciding between that and the A7 III, but I really like the extra megapixels of the A7R III. So I jumped at the chance. I think it was like $2,000. It was like $1,999 or something like that. Or something, it was right around that. At the time, that was a really great price, because normally it sold for about $2,900. And so I was like, wow, this is crazy. Is this a mistake? You know? So I bought it right away. And after that, you know, I started to realize like, hey, I need some lenses to complement this new full frame camera. You know, over time, I did sell my lenses. I just want to make sure, you know, I didn't sell all of my lenses right away immediately. I sold them over time, right? So the first lens that I actually purchased for Sony, for my Sony full frame, was the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. That was a fantastic buy. Phenomenal, right? It really can handle just about any shoot you might have. It was great. So I started off with that. Then I grabbed an 85 from MPB at a great price. Again, it was used, lightly used. And then later I grabbed the Sigma 35 f1.4, which to this day is probably the best buy. Like, I love that lens. It's beautiful. I love it. Eventually, as I started to get more into shooting like weddings and things like that, I just like, wow, I need that extra reach. So I did get the Sony 70-200 f2.8 as well. And I did also get that one from MPB as well. I did get that one used. One of the other things I just wanted to mention, like, as I just said a second ago, I didn't do this all at once, but in order to not break the piggy bank, so to speak, what I did is that I actually bought a Sigma EF to E mount adapter. And so that allowed me to actually continue to shoot clients, use my camera in my spare time, use some of those older Canon lenses before I purchased some E mount replacement lenses. And so I did that over time. And then eventually, like I said, I replaced all of my lenses. And now everything that I have is 100% Sony. I only have the Nifty 50 because it works with a film Canon's camera that I have, and that's pretty much it. So everything else I sold and got rid of. So if you are actually thinking of moving from Canon to Sony or from one system to another, you don't have to necessarily buy everything all at once, right up front, and then sell your gear. You can do it a little bit over time if you want. It really just depends on your situation, the amount of money you want to spend at the time, and things like that. So it's really up to you. But I wanted to kind of cover what my experience was transitioning from Canon to Sony, because actually one of you guys actually made a comment on one of my other videos about pretty much what did that process look like for me. So I was like, wow, this is actually a great idea for a video. So thanks for that. But yeah, that's basically what I did. That's how everything worked out. And really, I don't regret it. I love Sony. It's been a game changer for me. I feel like my process is smoother. I take better pictures. I'm able to focus better on the images that I'm capturing. And all in all, it's a fantastic experience. So if you want to transition from one, system to another, don't let anything hold you back. Just kind of create a plan for yourself, budget it out, and you'll be 100% ready to go with that new camera system. Now, if you made it this far in the video and you liked the video, definitely hit the like button for me. That's going to be really helpful for me. This is a young and growing channel, so I definitely would appreciate it if you hit the like button. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this one. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.